I'm Vishwas, and so this is my personal story of my journey with the artist. So I was a child that grew up with questions, and like most of us here today, I was actually looking at questioning everything unusual and asking why. My 29-year-old self would look at my 6-year-old self and go, why didn't you question the sameness of things with even greater gusto? We grew up in Bangalore, a garden city then, that's growing digital crops now for the world to raise. Imagine being little kids confined to a large house during the day, with your mother on hospital duty and your father away. My sister and I grew to have an unusual partnership with silence as we introspected on life in general, even at the age of 8. We shifted homes when we grew older and we moved into a chirpy neighborhood. And we blended well. We took some time, but we actually blended well. We played late into the night as mommy was on hospital duty and hospital tours. And once when I was 14, I asked my sister, so mommy's logging day and night for us. And my sister says, yeah, Vishu, what will become of us if we don't study well? Now I was a playful child all along, who didn't study for more than an hour a day. At a time when video games were the talk of the town, so we entirely discarded them and spent fewer hours at play, making unusual partnerships with books like P.G. Wodehouse. Now as I started reading, I realized we were living in a world filled with contradictions. I couldn't relate to the world that made me believe, or betrayed me into believing, that birds of a feather flock together, but opposites attract. That all good things come to those who wait, but time and tide wait for no man. Or even too many cooks spoil the broth, but many hands make life work. Now my mother's a doctor, but you'd never guess it from her handwriting. She has the most beautiful cursive handwriting for a doctor. Now for a doctor, I said, because the world believed doctors couldn't have a good handwriting. Even if you were born with one, it was almost as if you had to disown it to get an MBBS degree. It's something that you'd make the world believe that you knew the prescription to a chronic heart ailment, even if you would doodle the patient's heartbeat away. So now, I grew up listening to wise people speak their minds. I was a wise boy once in class, in 6th standard, and I got hit by my wiser teacher when I was complaining to the ones in front of me who were making a noise. And my teacher told me that silence was golden. I almost retorted that the squeaking wheel gets the oil, but I held back, being the respectful student I was taught to be. Now as my 29-year-old self looks at my 12-year-old self, I coax myself to say it and let the wise teacher know that partnerships are made more often than they are made. That silence is not meant for every occasion, and we need to speak up and be a part of the unmaking of stereotypes. That's why I dream. I dream to break free from the world that defines good and bad by an intellectual's view, or a majoritarian's whim, or an authoritarian's curse. The roads are straight or curved, but look the same. The buildings are short, tall and wide, some even circular, but meant to divide. The blooming spring from the digital assets within. It's only when the rainbow comes up across the horizon that a thought manages to drift in and makes us wake up and take notice of the deep glory within. I dream I'm in a school of Neverland, where blacks, whites, gay, lesbian mix freely, where chalks are carved out of cheese and cheese can be drawn by the same chalk. And that's when it hits me like a ton of bricks, that wise men who want to fit us into the world, into their world of convenience, have done so with reckless abandon to nip such unusual partnerships in the bud. For wise men think alike, but fools seldom differ. What's usual today can become unusual tomorrow, and what's unusual today can become usual tomorrow. There was once a wise man who advised me never to cross paths with a soldier without reason, until I became a soldier myself, braving life's battles. Another told me that doctors were an incurable plague, until I became a doctor myself, curing myself of negativity. Yet another told me lawyers were deceptively smooth, until I became a lawyer myself, fighting life's labored cases. Another told me that gluttons were menacingly ravenous, until I became a glutton myself, living to eat in luxurious fervor. Yet another told me to beware of the stranger from across, until I became a stranger to myself, unknown from across and beyond. Another told me criminals were a dangerous species, until I became a culprit myself, flouting rules for survival. Yet another told me travelers ought to dot in a miserly trot, until I became a wayfarer myself, pursuing thrifty trails. What this has taught me, and we seldom acknowledge, is that in life's journey we've crossed paths with ourselves in familiar roles of the unusual other, but we paradoxically point a finger away, judging the other's journey, thus faulting our own. Thank you.